All right, today's lesson is parenting, parent-child relationship. This is important to understand in Blender animation so that you can expand upon your initial transform, very simple basic animation. Okay, like the bouncing ball animation we did, we can no longer do a rotation on the ball simply because we move the pivot point to the bottom of the ball so that we can squash it. Okay, so if you want to rotate the ball, then it would not be possible because it'll start rotating at the bottom, not at the center. All right, so this is the solution for that one, is to learn about parenting. And in Blender, it's like any other 3D program, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, and then you will see the formation of your hierarchy or your parent-child relationship in your collection. Okay, so we have Dad right here, we have Leo, and we have Ayano. So let me put child right there so it just makes it simpler for us to kind of see the relationship later. Okay, so to parent an object, you have to select it last. So if I wanted to parent Ayano to Dad right here, I would select Ayano first and then shift click Dad. All right, let me turn on screencast right here. All right, and then the keyboard shortcut is Control P. All right, and then when you click on Control P, it will ask you what type of parenting you want to do. Okay, so object is what we want here. Keep transform also, it's something we would use when we're parenting our armature to do a rig so that we keep them on their space. This one, its object would be fine. Okay, so I'm going to click on object, and as you can see, the difference is you see this separated line kind of connecting them, right? So the difference here now is that since Dad is the parent, whenever you move Dad, the child will follow. All right. However, the child still has their independence. Okay. So whatever animation you do with Dad, the child will follow. However, you can also still animate the child independently. All right. So again, going back to the bouncing ball exercise we did before, if we parented the ball into an object, something that you can't see when you render, that would be an empty. Okay, an empty is something that I'm going to make one here that's going to be single arrow, so you see it. It's quite obvious that it's okay. There it is. So that can be any object in your scene, and you can parent to that, but it will not show up on render. That's why it's called an empty. Or another program, it's called a null. Okay, so that can be a parent. So if I select Dad right here, shift click this empty, Control P, object. Okay, do you see the connection? Perforated this one. So if I move the empty now, they follow. However, the Dad has independence of the empty, then the child. So right now they're both children, and this is the main parent. Okay, so let me click undo. Going back to the bouncing ball, if you have an empty and you actually parented the ball, okay, so that way the ball can be still has its pivot point in the center, then you would put the pivot point of the empty at the bottom, then you can squash the ball, but it's independent. Okay, so you would animate the empty going up and down to do the bounce while holding the ball, right? We'll explain all this in going into that setup after this lesson here. And it can do its rotation because, again, it's independent. Okay, so how do we clear the parent? So let's say you didn't want that. So it's the same thing, shift click last Dad, and then instead of Control P, you click Option P or Alt P. then you can clear the parent. Okay, when you do that, you lose that perforated line. That means you have cleared the parent. Okay, so let's parent both child right here to dad right here. So I can select, it doesn't matter which one, as long as they're both selected. As long as I select dad last, the parent, shift click. All right, so as you can see here, they're darker orange and he's got that lighter orange color. Okay, now I can do Control P to parent and object. As you can see, the perforated line is on both. When I select on dad right here, okay, they both follow, but they have their independence. And of course, to clear that, it would be the exact same thing. All right, so here's the advantage of parenting to an object that you would animate. Let's say we want dad right here to follow the path, the circle shape, and just kind of go around. Okay, once we do that, we lose the ability to animate him off the circle because he's locked into that. Okay, so however, if we did the exact same thing for all three object right here, they'll all be locked in here. So here's a way to kind of show you that. So I'm going to go to number 7, which is the top. I'm going to position the parent right here, kind of line it up to the path that I made right there. Okay, so the path will be the parent here. So I'm going to select the parent. Okay, shift click the path, which is just a Bezier circle or a curved circle. Control P. We have a different option because we have a different object. There's a curve right here. What we want to do is to follow the path instead of object. Once you do that, we select this one. We go to its property right here, which is the curve. You see it on path animation. It defaults to 100 frames, so you can change that to whatever frames you want. That's basically, if I play this one, okay, it just goes around. It just follows that path. Okay, and as you can see here, if I animate dad right here, it will not work. It's trapped in there. Okay, however, the children, you can animate and change their position independent of where the circle is. If you all did Control P, so let's say you selected one of the children right here, and then Control P that follow path, then he'll be trapped in here. You can never get this. You can never get Leo to change position. So that's advantage, of course, of having parent right there and how it works. Again, Control P, always select the parent last, Alt P to clear the parent. Okay, so let's go now to the bouncing ball exercise. Okay, so I just opened Andy's room. This is the scene that we created previously from the bouncing ball lesson. So let's add now a parent to this ball so we can rotate. Okay, so obviously if you do any rotation where it's at this point, what's going to happen is that when you rotate, that's what happens. Okay, because again, we set the pivot point at the bottom for the purpose of squashing it when it's on the floor, right? So it doesn't squash in the middle. But this time we want it in the center, because when you want to do the rotation for this, I'm just going to go to Object, Set Origin, Origin to Geometry. Okay, so when we do our rotation, it's in the middle, so it works now. Okay, however, what do we lose ability-wise? It's that squashing part, right? We can never squash it now on the floor because it's always setting itself in the middle. So this is where you need a parent, right? So what can we use for that one? We can use an empty. Okay, so let's get an empty, add empty. All right, and then there's several ways right here. We can do arrows, planes, axis. For our purpose right here, let's just do a circle. Okay, so we have a circle right here. So let's go to number 1. Okay, and the circle is dead position on the floor already, which is great. Okay, so that's what we want, and we can just move the ball down there and then let it on the ground, and then we can just move it down, or we can move this up. Okay, oh, I'm not seeing my empty. Let me turn on my it's ginormous, so let's scale it down a bit, because I turned off my overlay, sorry, to kind of make it clean. So I'm just going to put it right here at the bottom right there. Okay, the reason for that is it makes it easy for us, and that's the side view, okay, to do the squashing where the pivot point here is already at the bottom. Okay, so what can we do with this? Exactly the same as before, except we will now parent the ball to the circle. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to select the ball first, shift click the circle last, remember from the parent lesson previously. Okay, and then I'm going to do Control P and just click on object. All right, now that we have object right there, whenever I move this one, the ball follows. So we're not animating the ball going up and down anymore. We are animating the ball to do the rotation. The empty now inherited the job of going up and down and doing the squash. Okay, so let's set up our animation here. So I'm still on 1 and 24. Let me just make sure that my timeline is kind of zoomed in to 1 to 24 to make our life easy right here. Okay, and I'm going to hide the camera for now. All right, well, actually, let's animate in camera mode so we could actually just kind of preview it here. Okay, so let's take care of the animation. Same timing as before. Okay, so we're animating now the empty. Okay, and we're going to go number 1 right here. Okay, so number 1 on frame 1. Oops, I forgot we still have the animation for this ball. Totally forgot about that. Let's go over here and then I'm just gonna select all the keys that we did for the ball and just press delete. Okay, so that we don't have to worry about that one. Okay, so let me bring this up a bit. All right, so no more animation. We're animating this guy right here. Okay. So, but I think, yeah, I messed up there because I kind of moved it where it's not supposed to be, because I forgot it's actually animated. So let me clear that then. So shift click, Alt P, clear the parent, select the parent again, okay, which is this one. Move it down here where the pivot point will happen. Okay. Select the ball, shift click the parent. Always select the parent last, Control P, object. All right, so now we're ready to animate part 2. We're gonna go to camera mode right here. Okay, so we're gonna animate this one. I'm gonna go to item right here, Z-axis, right? I'm gonna right click here, insert single keyframe. Okay, and we all know in frame 24 that's where it's going to be as well. It's on the exact same position, right? You're just kind of cycling the animation manually. And so single keyframe, then we go to frame 10, okay? Frame 10, we move the empty down until we see the ball kind of touch the ground right there, or the floor, okay? Let's move this one a bit, kind of like that, okay? And right here, we're gonna go to Z-axis, insert single keyframe, and then on frame 14, okay, we're going to copy that one. So let's move to our animation tab. Makes our life easier right here, okay? And then go to the front in here. All right, and we're just going to copy keys. Go back to my dope sheet. Okay, let's open that up. Z location, all right. Let me move it over here and then kind of expand this one a bit. All right, so frame 10. Let me expand it some more so we can see frame 1. There we go. Frame 10, we're simply going to duplicate this, Shift D, drag it to 14, okay? Because it needs to stay on the ground, no activity. All right, there it is. Okay, and then what's going to happen is that our function curve will be wrong, of course. Okay, and let's do our squashing as well at this point. Okay, so if we squash this one, it will squash the ball as well. All right, so on frame 10, there's no squash. Okay, so we're going to go to our scaling, which is the we're going to do our X, Y, and Z. Okay, to be whatever they are. Okay, so we'll just do I on frame 10 scale, so it does X, Y, Z for everything. Okay, we're going to go to frame 14 as well. That's when the ball becomes, you know, regular size ball again. I'm going to press I and then scale, so it keyframes it. 10, 14, of course there's no activity. Frame 12 is where it matters, so we're going to squash this one. Okay, we're going to go like so, make it a little wide, then make it a little wide right there. Okay, and then we're going to go I scale, so now it's doing the squash. Okay, and we're animating the empty here, not the ball. Okay, and I think I might be floating there a bit, which is fine because I can just cheat here and turn on screencast. Okay, and select this part right here, and I'll just go move it GZ. All right, right there. Okay, so now if we watch our animation with the empty selected, all right, there's that squash, and of course terrible bounce. Let's fix that real quick in our graph editor. There we go. Okay, so we've done this before. If you want to know how this done properly and fully explained, please go to our YouTube channel, and then you should see there how it was done slowly. Okay, so here I'm just going to go kind of fly through this. Okay, make the landing go fast, make the takeoff go fast, and probably will leave everything as is. All right, so there's that. So what is all this work for? Well, the chance to do what? For the ball to rotate. Okay, so we have our, let's say we just want to rotate it, go 180 and then the other way around, going, it can flick back. It just any type of rotation will do. Okay, so I'm going to go to the rotate tool right here. Okay, we're going to go to the side, so we're going to use the red one. All right, so on frame 1, let me go back to the dope sheet. Okay, the ball has never been animated, so that's why there's no keys, because we animated the empty. All right, so there's the ball. Okay, I'm going to go rotation X. On frame 1, I'm going to do insert single keyframe with no rotation. Okay, and then on frame 10, that's when it lands, right? I'm going to do flip it over. 180. Okay, right click, insert single keyframe. Let's watch that. All right, there it is. So when it bounces up, if you want to do the other rotation, if you want it to rotate going the other way, that would be on frame 14. So on frame 14, you tell it, hey, don't rotate. Okay, from 10 to 14, you don't want to be rotating this because it's trying to squash. So you want to do an insert keyframe right there, so it rotates. Okay, it rotated and it stayed on the ground as is. And then over here to 24 is where you want to do this rotation. Okay, 360. So let's watch it. Okay, you see now that pausing right there, it's done through because we're just cycling, we're just looping the playback. All right, so now bouncing the ball and rotating the ball is possible because of the helper empty as a parent.